A few weeks ago I went to a place called Karuizawa, which is very far away, but one of the main reasons that I went there is because of this place called Kyu-Karuizawa, which is like the old town, but it's basically just a street of food. So I'm going to show you some of my favorites and also try out a few new ones, but basically it's just an excuse for me to try a bunch of Japanese street food. And we're going to start with a classic, which is Japanese curry pan. Curry pan is basically just a Japanese curry that is then encased in bread, which is then deep fried or baked. But in the case of the Mikasa Hotel curry pan, then there are two different types, which is the Kima chicken and the premium Shinshu beef. Of course, I had to go for the premium beef version, but I hadn't actually heard of Shinshu beef before. It turns out it's a type of Wagyu, but there are over 200 different types of Wagyu because it basically just means Japanese beef. So it kind of makes sense that I hadn't heard of it before. But apparently a main selling point of Shinshu beef is that they feed their cattle with Shinshu apples, which is a speciality of the region. It supposedly gives the beef a deeper flavor and a kind of sweet aftertaste, but I assume that this has been long stewed because it was quite a tender beef, and then it's also deep fried, so I didn't really catch any of those nuances. It's mainly like a big piece of really tender beef, and then it's surrounded by a bunch of bread that's then deep fried, so it's really crispy on the outside. And the curry is just like a standard Japanese curry. Definitely the crispy bread is the best part of this. Basically the bread was the best part, so I don't think you can go wrong with either the chicken or the beef at Mikasa Hotel curry pan. Next I went to King Spicy Chicken, which is a treacherous journey of about 5 steps. There they are known for their XXL chicken, which is really XXL because it's about the size of my face. Their name in Japanese is Osama Jipai, which is actually not Japanese at all, it's Taiwanese, because this is based on a Taiwan night market street food. Japan and Taiwan have a kind of interesting culinary relationship. I think it's mainly Japan being interested in Taiwan's food, but when I was there at the Taiwanese night markets, I did see loads of Japanese signs just everywhere because there are just so many Japanese foodie travelers that come to Taiwan. But in Japan, then this kind of XXL fried chicken is really not that common. There are two main types of fried chicken in Japan. There's a fried chicken that you get in convenience stores that is kind of quite small and a bit greasy, and there's another type which is called karage, which is much tastier in my opinion. Both of those are made using chicken thigh, whereas this XXL chicken is made using chicken breast. I was a little worried it was going to be kind of dry, but according to their website they marinate this chicken breast for over 36 hours. Then they combine it with 19 different spices. I don't know that my palate is nuanced enough to tell those 19 different spices, but it did kind of taste like Japanese shichimi togarashi, which is like a 7 spice. Oh, it smells good. It kind of smells like togarashi. It's hot. He cooked it right in front of us, so of course it is. But so it's crispy on the outside, kind of togarashi spice, and then there's definitely like a good amount of salt on there as well. And it's warming up my cold hands. Oh, it is actually kind of juicy though. Oh, as I make my way through it though, the spice does start to build a little bit. I got the XXL one with the regular level of spice, and that cost 550 yen. Then at this same end of the street there's this place called Apple Pie Lab where you can get the famous apples of the region. But much to the dismay of my friend who lives in Karuizawa, I didn't make time for this place. I did however buy a giant bag of apples and then make my own suitably giant pie when I got back, so don't worry about me, but definitely give it a try if you do have time. So skipping over that, I went to Chozumeya, which I think in English is just called domestic ham and sausage. And as a Brit, looking for proper sausage in Japan is quite a sad challenge, so this really hits the spot. But despite its kind of Japanese sounding name, then it's a chain in the area that's run by 2 Germans. And the main focus of this shop is that they sell a bunch of different hams and sausages that you could buy. But the reason that it's on this list is because they have a small stall where you can get hot dogs. I got the herb sausage, which is 540 yen, and put a bunch of mustard on top. There's loads of Western influence in Karuizawa, which kind of explains the existence of this place. Apparently there are loads of wealthy expats, and apparently a lot of them are German, so there you go. Definitely doesn't have the issue of when you have way too much bread and not enough sausage. Oh, the bread is like a sort of crunchy ciabatta, and the sausage is just like lightly seasoned with some herbs, and then I put a bunch of mustard and ketchup on the top, but this is like a proper sausage. Then I moved on to something that seems much more Japanese to me, but is actually also from a Western dish from a while ago, and it's just become this really Japanese thing. And that is korokke at a place called Karuizawa Korokke-san. That's not hard to remember actually. Korokke comes from the word croquette, so if you know what a croquette is, then you probably already have an idea of what this is. But normally, if you don't say what flavour it is, then it would be a kind of mashed potato, maybe with some meat, and then breaded and deep fried. I couldn't resist getting the kabocha one because it was just in season, even though you can get kabocha almost any time in Japan, but autumn is the season for this little sweet pumpkin. And the korokke costs 260 yen, which makes it the cheapest one on this list actually. Oh, it smells so good. Can you smell it? Wow. Wow, it's really hot. Quite sweet from the kabocha, and then the outside is quite light and flaky. It's kind of like that panko kind of texture. I feel like there's something else to it, maybe like dashi or something. Home cooked kind of food. So far, does this fit your idea of what Japanese street food is? I'm really curious, so let me know in the comments below, but now let's go on to the next one. So then we go on to the second curry pad of this list at Mikasa Kohi Kyudo-ten. I only realized after going that this is run by the same people as the first place, but the curry pad is totally different, I swear. But normally curry pan kind of looks like the first one that we saw, so it's like round and kind of looks like a donut. Sometimes it's actually translated as a curry donut, but I think that sounds disgusting, so we're gonna just go with curry pan. But this one has evolved completely to something else, and it's just this long thin stick, and it doesn't really have like a lot of filling. Basically it just has this kind of sauce inside a crispy batter, and it's honestly my favorite curry pan in Japan, I think. It also claims to be the longest curry pan in Japan. I don't know if that's true, but for the longest curry pan it only costs 380 yen, which is pretty decent, I would say. They have a couple of other versions too, like a cheese covered one and a sweet bean one. I was starting to crave something sweet, but honestly the sweet bean stuff in Japan really doesn't quite hit the spot, so I'll go to a dessert place at the end. Notice the intense length on this thing. It's gonna be really hot. I don't know if my tongue is gonna burn. Okay. Oh, I mean, I've had this before, so I already knew it was going to be amazing. A lot of depth to it, kind of almost like a Worcester sauce or something. I really like the flavor of this one. The other one is like a tender beef. It's like one of those beefs that's been stewed for ages. That sounds pretty good. So like if you're in like a meaty mood, then that's a good one. She says she bites into a long stick. But next we'll go to a place called Chimoto, which is literally right next door. A lot of these are very close to each other. And there, although you can also have a sit-down meal, they have a dango as their sort of street food. Dango is basically 3 squishy balls of rice on a stick. If you've ever had mochi, they're kind of like that, but stickier. So I looked it up, and apparently mochi are made with rice that is pounded into a paste, and dango are made with rice, flour and water. You kind of do very similar things but in a different order to get a slightly different texture. There are loads of different types of dango in Japan. There are some sweet ones, but this one was definitely savoury because it was a soy sauce flavoured one, which I think they then did on a charcoal grill. And it costs 320 yen. It smells like burnt soy sauce. Why do I keep eating things when I know that they're really hot? I actually really like this one. I'm not really much of a dango person, but I really like the flavour of this kind of charcoal soy sauce. It is very sticky. The textures are really fun because it's got a really thin layer of crispiness on the outside where it's been cooked, and then on the inside it's that really chewy, sort of mochi style rice. It really does get stuck in your teeth. It's a very like filling kind of snack. And finally, we can now satisfy my sweet tooth with a crepe at Karuizawa Creperie Angelina. I don't know about you, but in Europe I would never think of crepes as a street food, because how are you meant to eat? Like, it comes on a plate, right? It's like a big crepe, like it's like a pancake. But in Japan, they roll it up into a cone and then they put loads of topping inside. It's usually whipped cream and something else. So honestly, the crepe is more of just a vessel for whatever toppings that you choose. Kind of like the cone of an ice cream cone. This one does have a huge selection though. I think maybe the biggest selection of crepes that I've seen at one place. But despite the huge selection, I knew exactly what I wanted, which was the Mont Blanc one. Mont Blanc is a chestnut dessert and I love Japanese chestnut, but it's actually from a European dessert and I think it's a slightly different thing to what you get in Europe. But this one was even more different because it had a bit of a green surprise inside. It was basically an ice cream cone and it cost 600 yen. Wow. Yeah, look, here's the matcha ice cream. Oh, that's very nice. It actually goes quite well. It's a little earthy, and the matcha is also earthy. And neither of them are like crazy sugary, so together they actually work, which is actually quite surprising. I can't eat the crepe because it will like make everything fall apart. I'll take a little bite. It's like a nice soft buttery crepe. I just ate that chestnut that was on the top and it was alcoholic. It was like a kind of brandy flavor. It was good, but I was not expecting that. I'll leave links to all of the different spots in the description below, so let me know if you do visit them. But thank you for watching to the end and I'll see you next time.